I've been feeling rather down about Linux lately. But then I start thinking about all the really cool things Linux can do, such as look like just about any computer platform on the planet really easily. And I start to get pretty happy about Linux again. And so, because I think a lot of you are in the same boat as me, we've had some disillusionment with Linux lately for a variety of technical and social and whatever reasons. Let's take a quick look at all the amazing ways you can make Linux look like just about any computer platform that has pretty much ever existed. I've written a bunch of these articles over at lunduke.locals.com. They're all free for anyone to read and follow the instructions. Simple little how-tos on how to make Linux look like just about anything. And it's almost always focus on really old computer systems, because who doesn't want their new computer to look like a really old computer? I know that may sound weird to some people, but who doesn't really want that? And one of my favorites is IRIX. Is that IRIX look and feel is just so choice. Look at this, and this is all Linux. All these screenshots are Linux, right? Look at this. Oh my gosh. Yeah. This is using the Max desktop, Max with 2 X's, which basically just recreates the IRIX look and feel on Linux, and it is gorgeous. I mean, it's so old school, right? It's old school Unixy goodness. And I feel like that's what Linux is supposed to look like. Like when I close my eyes and I think, what should a Unix-like operating system like Linux or like Minix or like any of the free net open BSDs, what should it look like? Well, it should look like one of a couple of different desktops. The IRIX desktop that the SGI systems used to have, because come on, those were awesome. Or CDE, the common desktop environment, and all that is possible nowadays. So that one, yes, that one looks great. But you can also make it look like macOS 9. Now I want to put a caveat on this one, because while you can make it look like macOS 9 for the most part, right? You can get the window decorator looking real spot on. You can even get the controls. Do I have some screenshots of the controls? I don't have too many screenshots of controls. You got the scroll bar there that looks right. You can get the icons just right. You can get the font just right. You put a really good wallpaper on there. You can really dial it in. But the global menu bar, I've never seen an implementation of the global top menu bar that perfectly mimics what you can get in macOS Classic, like macOS up through version 7, or the platinum look of macOS 8.9. You can get close. I detail it in the article here. I'm going to link to all of these wherever you guys are finding this video. But you can get it really close, but not quite. And I want to point something out here, something that's really, really important, that a lot of people miss when they're trying to make Linux look like whatever operating system. Don't skimp on the font. This is a real simple rookie mistake. You know, people grab the window decorator from macOS 9. Great. That gets you part of the way there. You can get some great GTK and cute control themes that make it look like that macOS 9 Platinum look. Yes, that gets you almost all the way there. Getting good wallpaper and icons. Yes, you gotta do that. But that font, if you don't get the font right, it's gonna throw it all off. It's just absolutely necessary. Whether it's Chicago or whatever font, I try to include the font in all of these instructions so you can take a look at it. Here's another example, BOS. Now I know you could just go out and run Haiku right now, which is kind of a rebuilding of BOS in an open source way, and it still looks more or less like the original BOS. But you could just make your Linux desktop look like it too. Look at this. This is Linux. These are Linux screenshots. How awesome is that? I mean, like macOS, current modern macOS is a good operating system. It's fast. It's got a lot of Unix command line tools that they bring along. It's a good system. Modern Windows, as much as I like to bash on it, it's a good system. You know, it does a lot of has a lot of functionality, maybe more functionality than it should, but it's overall a good system. The problem with these systems is you can't just easily make it look like whatever. Your old Mac OS, like Mac OS 8, Mac OS 9, had a thing called Appearance Manager that allowed you to apply all sorts of crazy themes to your system and make it look like whatever you want. Even Windows was a little bit easier to modify in the old days. They're kind of hard to modify nowadays, especially current Mac OS. You just can't. Mac OS applications nowadays have no consistency by default amongst themselves in the look and feel that they use. They use different styles and different controls and even different like toolbars and widgets. It's crazy. And there's no good way to just theme everything. But Linux, oh man, you can theme things up through the nose. Again, this is Linux. It's not a perfect recreation of BOS. You notice the taskbar over there on the right, it doesn't exactly look like BOS. It's a rough approximation, but the controls, the little yellow tab for the window bar there, that gets it pretty close. And then you throw in some BOS icons and the right cursor. Oh, there's another thing. Don't skimp on the cursor. A bunch of these operating systems like BOS, Amiga OS, even Windows have really distinct cursors. And the mouse cursor you use is a really important thing for the look and feel of the system. Whether you like the cursors or not, they really do change how the whole system feels. So if you theme your whole system to look like BOS, but you don't use that funky little finger pointer cursor, everyone will be like, oh, well, that's not BOS. It looks wrong. It never will feel quite right. You have to get the cursor right. Look at this. This is the Linux in the shell, but it's looking like BOS. That's real, man. That's real. All right. Take a look at this one. Amiga OS. Now this one is a little bit harder. You start with XFCE. You start with XFCE for a lot of things. XFCE is, for many uses, the gold standard of this is my base window manager desktop environment combo that I'm going to use in order to theme it and make it look like another older computer system. It's great for that. And that's a testament to how well it's designed, in my opinion. But you can make XFCE look like old Amiga OS. Not perfect. Notice, now here's some screenshots of Amiga OS 3.0 and Amiga OS 1.3 themes applied to XFCE. And you'll note, if you're an Amiga user, there's a couple of things wrong with that. It's not pixel perfect. I've yet to find a pixel perfect way to theme an application to look like Amiga OS, but you can get it real close, right? I mean, look at these controls. They are very Amiga-y. You can get it really, really close. And I got to give kudos for them for that. And again, the cursor, the little mouse pointer, whatever you want to call it. Amiga OS had this really, really funky pointer that was red. It was a red cursor, and it was at a funky angle. It wasn't the standard angle that you come to expect on Windows or Mac or even Linux desktops. They've all kind of got a very similar angle, except for Amiga. It's a little bit more pointed downward, and you've got to get that right. Otherwise, it's going to look wrong. Your whole system's going to look wrong if you don't get the cursor right. There's some modern and older versions of the cursor, but you've got to at least get a red friggin' cursor in there. And the font, Topaz. Those of you who don't know, go look that one up. The Topaz font is critical. And here, for example, is Linux. That's Linux. You can make your Linux desktop look like more or less an Amiga workbench. That's pretty cool. That's pretty gosh darn cool, right? I mean, why not? Why not do that? Why not? And while we're at it, You see, this sort of thing just makes me feel like, okay, Linux is worth saving, you know? For all of its faults and all of its problems, it's still got all this good stuff. You can make Linux look like LCARS from Star Trek, right? The Star Trek The Next Generation desktop environment, the Library Computer Access Retrieval System, which is what LCARS stands for. Now, LCARS was not a functional computer GUI. It was created by Michael Okuda for the shows, right? And it looks cool on the shows, but most of the displays they have in like Star Trek The Next Generation, the movies, most of them are not functional panels of any kind. They're just displays, like little like paintings, basically little plastic overlays with lights behind them, right? But they have that LCARS look. Well, someone created the LCARS desktop environment. And it is an actual attempt to make a desktop environment that looks like LCARS, but is functional with a modern computer. And it's not perfect. It's kind of janky in spots. It's kind of buggy in spots. But the fact that it works at all and does, in fact, look like LCARS is kind of awesome. Here's a screenshot of web browsing. I think it's using the Opera browser inside of LCARS, right? The LCARS DE, the LCARS desktop environment. It's open source. The main goal of this project is to create a desktop experience that looks somewhat like an LCARS interface. The desktop environment consists of a window manager that is based on Xlib, as well as a set of tool applications, which are a menu of active open applications, the status bar, a program selection, an application for logout, shutdown, etc. And then here it shows it. It actually, they go through the effort of putting all the little status indicators and little panel applets and whatnot into an LCARS style in little applications that are stuck in there. Here you can see, so you can change your volume and your screen brightness, and you can check your Wi-Fi strength and all that sort of thing. And it has application launchers. But in order to keep it LCARS style, they had to forego icons. Because if you look at an LCARS screenshot in Star Trek, they don't have application icons everywhere. It's text inside of colored ovals of specific colors. That's what LCARS looks like, right? So they have to stick to that. And so like, here's the launcher. It makes it kind of hard to find what you're looking for sometimes, especially if you've got a lot of applications there. I've found that I've installed this a couple of times, and a few times it totally just borked up my whole system. But a few times I've actually managed to get it to work, and it was awesome, and I enjoyed using it for a little bit. It was kind of more of a novelty than anything else, but what a cool novelty. Do you know what I mean? I mean, come on, that's cool. It's very, very cool. All right. Windows. You can make Linux look just like Windows. Here's Windows XP, which appropriately with Dr. Ian Malcolm, your scientists were so preoccupied with whether they could, they didn't stop to think if they should, quote, because but you can make your Linux system look like this. Yeah, that's Linux. That's a Linux screenshot with a start menu. Where's a picture of the start menu? Do I have a picture of the start menu? There's the right-click contextual menu that looks so much like the Windows one. Where is that? Oh, there's the font again. Again, the font is important. That's Tahoma. Tahoma is a great font. Whatever me or you or anyone else thinks of Windows XP, Tahoma's a pretty solid font, very crisp and readable, good looking font. But you've got to have Tahoma if you want to have a Windows XP looking system. You got to get the icons right. You got to have that toolbar right. You got to have the contextual menus right. It's all got to be right. But if you have the wrong font, it's all off. It's sort of like when you have an actual Windows system, but you start playing around with the default system font, and it just makes everything feel weird. You know what I mean? Like, whether you like Windows or not, the moment you change that default system font, everything's off. It's just wrong. Tahoma is where it's at. If you want to make it look like Windows XP, you need Tahoma. But what's really cool is people have gone through the effort of not just creating the base themes and the icon packs and the fonts and all that sort of thing. But they've themed LibreOffice. So you can make LibreOffice look a whole heck of a lot like the XP era of Office, where it has that ribbon and toolbar interface that I absolutely hate. I do not like that interface. I do not like the ribbon look and feel of Microsoft Office. And that's coming from a guy that literally, I worked on Microsoft Office. I helped build Microsoft Office. I hate the ribbon UI. I do not like it one bit. I do not like it, Sam I Am. It's awful. But you can get all of that. It's pretty amazing. I mean, that it looks like XP. I mean, there are ways to tell that it's not. Case in point, fire up a terminal and run NeoFetch or something like that. But by and large, I mean, you could fool most people into thinking this was XP, right? Like if you were, even as a computer nerd, if you wake up and you're a bit groggy, at least for a moment or two, you'd be convinced this was XP. It's super close. But my all-time favorite thing to do to make Linux look like something is Windows 95. Because why the frig not? Let's make it look exactly like Windows 95, and the amount of work that people have put in to making Linux look and work exactly like 95 is amazing. So here we go. Screenshots. This is Linux. Yeah. Right there, that's Linux. Everything. Oh my gosh. This is good. Most of this, a lot of this work comes from Chicago 95. I link to all of it so you can go to the GitHub pages and grab all the tools and the themes and everything. But oh my gosh, it's Windows 95. Oh my gosh. There's one or two not pixel perfect parts of this. And people will find it and people will point it out, and it could use a little bit more work still, but by and large, they did a phenomenal job with the controls or anything. I mean, this is Xubuntu. So this is a screenshot with Xubuntu with Chicago 95 put on top of it. Icons, GTK 2 and 3 themes, XFWM theme to make it look like Windows 95. And here's what really stands out at me. Let me see, do I have a screenshot of this? Here it is here. See that terminal screenshot? How it looks like it's got the path, like the C prompt path. You can do that. You can do that in any bash shell really easily, and other shells as well, where you can make it look like a DOS shell prompt. I have a comic that I posted up over at lunduk.locals.com years ago where I show people how to do it, because why not? It's just a command you can run in your shell that will just transform your pathing on your shell so it looks like it's DOS at a C drive on a C prompt. It's just pure awesomeness. But that wasn't what I wanted to show you. Notice also Audacious up there in the upper right hand corner with the Winamp theme up in the top right. Yeah, it's those little things, right? That do it. Here's what I wanted to show you. Chicago 95 Plus. It is a Linux application that loads up actual Windows 95 Plus pack themes. Here's the screenshot of the Friends theme. Wallpaper, font, icons, coloring, cursors, everything, even sounds. It supports all of it. You hit a button and it applies it to your Linux system. So you can make your Linux system look like exactly, based on the actual files, the Windows 95 Plus pack themes. That is so friggin' cool. And then, you want to take it up a notch? Yeah, you do. You start theming your applications to look like era-appropriate applications. Now, I personally, back then, I was a Netscape guy, right? So I liked Netscape for my browser. I preferred Netscape. Well, here's a Netscape theme. Yeah. Want to make LibreOffice look like Office 95? Boom. There's LibreOffice themes to make it like Office 95. Oh my gosh. How cool is that? Honestly, I mean, a heck of a lot better than that ribbon UI, right? Love it. The start menu. Here's the start menu. Not perfect. Not perfect. That's not the start menu. It's just not. Someone needs to just rebuild that menu from scratch so it works and acts exactly like the Windows 95 start menu, or the Windows 2000 start menu or something, because this is just, it's not it. But it's close enough that, I mean, as an homage, it works. It works. Oh my. And these sorts of things, they matter, right? Like, there's something. Computers are tools. Computers are utilitarian tools. They're there to do our bidding. They're there to run the software that we tell it to run in the way we tell it to run it. However, they should bring us joy. And these sorts of little things, whether they're useful or not, and I think you could make a very strong case for applying the Friends Windows 95 Plus Pack theme to your Linux desktop, it's probably not useful. You're not going to suddenly have a productivity improvement of 1,000-fold, but it brings you joy. Or at least it could. I mean, don't you now want to just like prank one of your Linux using friends, like when they get up and walk away from their machine or something like that, get this installed on there somehow? I guess you probably need to know the root password, but still, like, wouldn't that be cool? I just would be cool. Or just have your system set up to be friends and then to say, hey, could you come over and help me with this? What am I doing wrong here? And then have it just look like a Windows 95 with the Friends theme. That's cool. That's cool. I'm really tempted to apply the Friends theme from this to my Linux desktop. So anytime I share a screenshot of something I'm working on or an application I'm reviewing or something like that, it's got an icon of Joey and Chandler and everything on the desktop. But just never mention it, right? Like just take it and just have it always be there. I just think that's a great thing to do. That's joy. Computers should bring us joy. And you know what? Kudos to everyone who worked on all the things that I pointed out here today, because that's just a tiny fraction of what is possible. And again, all those articles for how to do that, links to all the various source repositories for them and detailed instructions is all over at lunduk.locals.com in the articles category. If you've never been over to lunduk.locals.com, once you sign up, there is a little content link up on the left side of the web page, or in the smartphone app on the very bottom, there's a little content icon. And when you click on that, it takes you to a content page where you can see all the videos, all the articles. You can sort and search. And like if you just go into the articles tab of the content view and type Linux look like, you will find so many articles that I've written that say things like make Linux look like blah, because I find that absolutely charming and just incredibly endearing and fun. It truly does. Things like that restore my joy in Linux in general. So thank you to everyone who has ever worked on any of these things, particularly the people who have put so much effort into the Windows 95 compatibility of it, because it's absolutely ridiculous. It's just totally ridiculous. All right, everybody. Thank you so much. I love you all. And with that, ladies and gentlemen, boys and girls, nerds and nerdettes across the inner tube, I do declare and broadcast.